The Starr and D'Amico Show brought to you by cheapesttshirts.ca. Men's, women's, children's t-shirts in all sizes. Hoodies too. Aprons, anything for merchandise, cheapesttshirts.ca. Buy today, ship tomorrow. McLean's Pub, 1210 Peel Street, your home away from home for all Montreal Canadiens games and your home for D'Amico and Starr live once a month. Check out their website. Check them out in person, 1210 Peel Street in downtown Montreal. LittleBearOnline.com. Chuck and Evie and they're an amazing staff care about your pet as much as you do. Curbside pickup, local delivery. On St. Catherine across from Westmount Square, LittleBearOnline.com. And by Catherine Prince Realty. Remax Platine certified broker, the best in the business. South Shore, moving to Brossard, moving to Montreal to be closer to the Montreal Canadiens. Check out our website, Catherine with a K, CatherinePrince.ca. Just want a home evaluation? None better than Catherine Prince.
Good morning, Habs Nation, and welcome to the morning after the night that was. The Montreal Canadiens finish up their 4-game road trip that took them to Western Canada, took to the northwest of the United States of America, and they come back with 3 wins out of 4. It's not an exaggeration to my partner in crime when I said, Marco, they could have swept this 4-game road trip, but that's a hypothetical, circumstantial at best, and you wake up this morning with the first place Montreal Canadiens, and we have a lot to unpack on the program today. Nick Suzuki's three-point effort. Cole Caufield tied for the NHL lead in goals with 9. The Montreal Canadiens tied for the NHL lead in points. And Ivan Demidov, when I woke up this morning, one of the first things I looked at was how many points did our boy 93 pick up yesterday in over 12 minutes of ice time? But Marco, even before last night's wrap-up on this trip against Seattle, I had already deemed this road trip that was successful. Walk me through your impressions in the first month of this season and what impressed you in terms of how the Canadiens battled and how they managed to scoop up 6 points from the 8 that were on the table here.
Well, I mean, collectively, I think it's very fun to see that they're one of the fastest teams in the NHL and probably the team with the most dangerous counterattack in the league. And
yeah.
It was interesting to me, but even if you factor in the Oilers game, like notwithstanding the officiating and the breakdown at the end of the game, if we took everything into consideration, the team that gave the Canadiens really the hardest, I would say, time was the Calgary Flames. And one of the reasons for that is because the Flames basically played trap in the neutral zone, and that killed the Canadiens' flow. But if the Canadiens are to play up and down hockey against anybody in the league, I don't know that they're going to walk away from that situation with less than 70% of the total point share. So that is a playoff team all day, every day. And I think that's absolutely excellent. One of the things that stuck out to me, obviously, is Cole Caufield. Incredibly clutch during this process as well, during these games. Big goals in Edmonton, big goals last night, just continues to produce. For those that are fans of advanced stats, he is the most impactful player in the NHL per statistics through the first 11 games in terms of the WAR and GAR model. So basically, in layman's terms, if you had to plug and play a player right now in the NHL that is the most valuable to their team's success, Cole Caufield right now is at the top of the list in the NHL. And that is incredible considering how far he's come in his development. A player that many, saw as a unidimensional scorer is now just got so many layers to his game. You think that he was an ogre. Like, it's just a next level performance from him in terms of the way he works in the neutral zone, the way he works along the boards, the way he thinks the game, and just the speed of his hands in low. That goal in overtime. I mean, good God, those are rage quitting goals for people that play NHL.
Exactly.
It's just incredible. It's incredible to watch him go. And honestly, that top line last night, dominant.
As the drum dude points out here, Shane Wright, a thorn in our side every time. If you think Shane Wright is a thorn in your side, go look at Brandon Montour. Go look at Brandon Montour's run against the Montreal Canadiens. This guy gets up for playing the Habs. I mean, it is crazy with this. I love him as a defenseman. Obviously, he's a great player, right? But I mean, he looks like a cheat code player when he plays against the Canadiens.
But to the credit, I think that Shane Wright played a pretty solid game last night as well. And I think
No doubt.
again, like I don't necessarily think that it's a Shane Wright Slavkovsky situation. I think that both players are very similar in where they are in their careers. I think Slavkovsky probably played one of the most complete games of his career last night.
Yes.
And it was really fun to watch. Like he could have easily had 3 or 4 apples last night if things would have gone the Canadiens' way. Like Nick Suzuki had 3 or 4 golden chances off of Slavkovsky feeds last night. Like he was just
easy.
So hard. And we're talking about a Pacific Division team. This is a heavy team in Seattle. And Slavkovsky's puck protection was on point. The passing was on point. The speed of execution, something we've been talking about a lot on this show, was on point. Like it's almost like things are starting to click with him. And, it's one of the things he said he wanted to improve on the most, right before they went on the road trip, was just being able to produce faster. And I think one of the things, either you speed up your game or you slow down everybody else's. And I think at least for now, he found out how to do the latter as he's figuring out the former. And it just makes him look like just one. Again, it's the prototypical power forward kind of player that the Canadiens wanted when they drafted him. Because yes, they could have drafted Logan Cooley. Yes, they could have drafted Shane Wright. And those are excellent players in their own right. But then what would be the need for the Montreal Canadiens? They need to get bigger in their top 6. So one way or the other, he, to me, is a key element to, if this team is going to win a Stanley Cup, this kind of play for him is exactly what the Canadiens need long-term if they're going to be a cup contender.
And we've got a lot to unpack from that insane game where the Canadiens prevailed in overtime on Cole Caufield's 9th of the year. It started with the Cole Caufield party when he scored his 8th. Noah Dawson helped set that play up. But I want to talk about the feed from Nick Suzuki. I mean that was intentional, right? Like, because if he was trying to do a bang shot off the tuchus of Joey Decord yesterday, he wouldn't have moved the puck the way he did. And again, it's, I know you've talked about this before. And the fact that, Nick Suzuki's got a couple of like air quote empty net style goals from Ivan Demidov's vision, right, with where he was. But that was Cole Caufield's turn to pot an easy one off the vision of Nick Suzuki, who finished with a 3-point night. Tied for 4th is the Montreal Canadiens captain in NHL points amongst all skaters. And we've talked about him in Team Canada. Pressure. I mean, this guy's putting his hand up saying, hey, y'all better start noticing me with the production that he has. What do we make of 14's first month where he's on pace for an incredible season with like 114 assists is the clip that he's playing at?
I got a couple of text messages last night from folks around the league basically saying, I don't need, like one quote I have here is, I don't care. Even as a 14th forward, I want him on my team. End quote.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so obvious how impactful he is. And I'm sorry, but if Sam Bennett, who has like 2 points in 11 games and has been really just underwhelming for Florida, if Sam Bennett makes Team Canada and Nick Suzuki doesn't, at this point, just like get a membership club for Hockey Canada, because it's just the old boys club that it is going to be exposed to be. Because Nick Suzuki over Sam Bennett all day, every day. Heck, Mark Scheifele over Sam Bennett all day, every day. Those are the two guys that I'm looking at, along with Macklin Celebrini, as the guys that could round out Team Canada's, like 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th forward roles. Those are the guys, because the clique of Florida Panthers players, evidently without Matthew Tkachuk and Sasha Barkov, two elite players, mind you, not holding a candle to guys like Scheifele, Celebrini, and Suzuki so far at the start of the season. Suzuki, to me, the way he's playing, I was waiting to see the offense at 5-on-5, really dominant offense at 5-on-5. That line dominated 5-on-5 last night. But what has really impressed me is that his defensive game is Selke worthy at this point. You add the offense to it, Barkov out for the year. This is a trophy that Suzuki is going to be chasing down all season, because right now, as we speak, it's him and Jack Eichel in terms of the Selke race for me. Yeah. And they also happen to be, as fate would have it right now, at the top of the scoring race as well.
Mm-hmm. And as we move around last night's game, Alex Newhook on the power play as the Montreal Canadiens special teams have clearly evolved. And I think the TSN turning point is Ivan Demidov, where you look at the first power play goal as they scored, right? Where was Juraj Slafkovsky? I mean, that was Michael Farber said it on TSN 690 a couple of days ago. The only thing missing was the Sweet Georgia Brown, the theme from the Harlem Globetrotters. Watch that tic-tac-toe to Big 20, who's in front of the net with Demidov. His presence alone in that spot on the man advantage keeps everybody honest, right? Because you don't know, and there's Big 20 and the nice tic-tac-toe finish. This is what I think we've been waiting for. It's what you and I handicapped, Marco, before the season began about, wow, look how much talent there is. And now look at the Devon. Even Alex Newhook on the second wave of the power play scores. So the special teams, a little bit of a TSN turning point in the last 3 games now.
Well, look at Alex Newhook's goal. Where was Zachary Budzik?
Exactly.
So everyone converges on him, opens up the high circle, and then you have a guy like Alex Newhook who can rip it and took full advantage. So again, I think from a power play perspective, loading up the first power play wave ironically balanced out both waves. And I think that's the key. And obviously with Patrick Laine out, this is the perfect opportunity to do so. I think it's excellent. The puck movement on both waves is really, it's really fun to watch. And I've said this before and I say it again. The Canadiens have the opportunity to have the best power play wave since 07-08 when they had a 24% ratio overall that season. Sure. Like this is elite level puck movement. And again, I think it stems from just the quality that they have just running it from the top. Like if you look at the second wave, what second wave in the NHL has the luxury of having a former 70-point defenseman running it? Mm-hmm. Right? Noah Dobson on that second wave is just so incognito effective at being the shooting threat at the top, forcing, like, guys don't know where to go anymore on that second wave. If we go back and look at the Newhook goal, the way that they're being covered, they're playing the box. The box looked like a trapezoid by the end of it because they didn't know where they were going.
Yeah.
And that opened up the cross-ice passing lane, and it was all she wrote from there. So to me, I think they figured it out. They've figured out the right combination of players, left shots to left shots, right shots to right shots. Like the combination with Lane Hudson and Ivan Demidov on the first power play wave is just so obvious that all of a sudden it's opened up the ice for Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield. What player, since those two have been playing for the Montreal Canadiens, has ever opened up ice for them?
Yeah.
None.
Fair.
The only one that comes to my mind is maybe Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah, and he, in that all Canadian division, the guy was on fire. I think it was at one point last week we were talking about the Canadiens power play running at like a 15 to 19% clip on any given day. You wake up this morning, it's over 28%, which puts them inside the top 10. They're 7th overall in the man advantage on a strong level of play. The Canadiens kept it going. We talked about the Alex Newhook. He's on 4 goals. He's on 8 points. Juraj Slafkovsky, I just want to wrap that up, scored his 5th of the season. Put that in context. Like, I'm all about incremental growth. The team set it out. They wanted to have a more productive October than the one they put out last year. Box checked. 8 wins, 11 games. Thank you very much. Their next game is November 1st. The other point was incremental growth category was Juraj Slafkovsky not being the moniker of second half Slav. He scored his 5th goal of the season last night in that 4-3 overtime win. Slafkovsky got to 5 goals last year in January. So it's those little steps that add up to big results, which makes me believe in the sustainability here of the Montreal Canadiens. But yet we can talk about the defense. We could talk about Arbor Jacki, who got, I think, a nice vote of confidence in the off day from his coach, right? Talked about stacking shifts. Jaden Struble made a mistake, tries to get a little too fancy, and then takes a hooking call, cue the comeback for the Seattle Kraken. Is this something that obviously, and it's an area of growth, right? How do they do that? How do the Canadiens we're talking about a team that had a 3-0 lead midway through the third, and here we are recapping an overtime victory. What's the obvious fix here to minimize these comebacks moving forward now?
There isn't one thing to fix on this, and ironically, that's probably what Martin St. Louis would say. Is there's not one thing, as he loves to say, but then he'll start listing them one by one. When it comes to their defense, I feel like when the Canadiens start sitting on their lead and not pushing the pace of the game, that's when they lose, right? Like when you play not to lose, this team is not equipped yet to play not to lose. They don't have the elements to do that. They have to play to win. And I think that's where they lose their identity. That's where they lose their style. That's where they lose what made them get the lead in the first place, which is just dominating possession, spending obscene amounts of time in the offensive zone, and ultimately driving, translatable offense to the net on a regular basis. Like Joey Daccord was a busy man last night in terms of high danger chances and staving off scoring chances. So like, I think that, it makes sense ultimately to me to see that they're going to struggle in this regard, because it's the next step, their next natural step in their evolution. This is a comeback team. It always has been, right? Called them the Cardiac Canadiens last year because they came back, 10 times?
Yep.
And so when you keep playing that rope-a-dope style, the next evolution into a championship team is being able to get those leads and hold them. So to me, there's that element. It's part of it is mental. It always is. And I mean, that's for players to figure out. That's why I am not of the ilk that I would necessarily want to move on from a lot of these veterans, because it takes a lot of that emotional maturity to play those situations. And at the same time, where I kind of think about this from a dual perspective is you're asking a lot of the same players on a regular basis, right? Like Mike Matheson played 27 minutes last night?
Correct.
I'm not saying anything is his fault here. I really don't. It was an unfortunate screen on Jakub Dobeš, I believe, on the second goal. But I mean, anybody could have gone through that. So I think it is more with the Canadiens get kind of discombobulated in their defensive zone a little bit. They forget their structure. And one of the things they really need to clean up, and it's something I've noticed, I brought it up during the Edmonton Oilers game recap. The Canadiens are highly susceptible to point shots getting deflected in the slot.
They are, yes.
And I think the easiest way to do that is to play higher in the zone for the wingers and for the centers to play lower. That way you're always kind of covering a guy in front, and you're making sure that those shooting lanes don't turn into tipping lanes. And so that's kind of the way, and I kind of spoke about this to a degree when it came to how Jake Evans, for example, defends a lead, right? You saw it against Vancouver. He played higher in the zone, was a menace for Quinn Hughes trying to get a shot off or even a pass across. They got away from that last night, I found, and Brandon Montour and Vince Dunn took full advantage from the point.
Yeah, those are two potent defensemen there. We talk about, what they're able to do as Hank the Puppy makes his first appearance on the live version of Starr and D'Amico here. The Montreal Canadiens wrap up October. They don't play again until November 1st when they host Ottawa. And the Ottawa Senators are in action, by the way, tomorrow when they play the Calgary Flames. And just as an illustration, right? Not that it's a cop-out or anything else, but, parity does exist in hockey. Hell, I'll point you to the Colorado-New Jersey game yesterday where the Avalanche, a legitimate Stanley Cup contending squad, had a 5-0 lead. That turned into a 5-4 lead before they got their 6th goal and finished off New Jersey in an 8-4 final. You and I were reacting to that crazy Detroit-St. Louis game on Saturday night where the Blues had, a 4-0 lead, and the Detroit came all the way back. So, it's not just, the Canadiens. It's happening somewhat consistently around the league, which takes us to how well I thought, one of the aspects that was positive for me, minimizing the shot opportunities from Seattle last night. Jakub Dobeš faced 21 pucks, made 18 stops, but he gets to 6-0 nevertheless. But again, to me, one of the tipping points that I think kind of gives him the edge in terms of Martin St. Louis making a call, because I'll put my hand up every time I said, I got it right. I thought Montembeault was going to get the Kraken game, but we're reacting to Dobeš getting to 6-0. It's those timely stops when they need to be made is what I think has separated Jakub Dobeš a little bit today. How impressed when we dig in the numbers, how impressed are we by the 6-0 start and the fact that in the here and now, he's kind of earned the trust of Martin St. Louis to keeps going back to him here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be like a party pooper. I didn't think last night was his best game.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but again, it's those timely stops, he's right there.
Where I would say is it's the body language that speaks more to me, right? When a goalie is in confidence, you really want to be able to attack the play and really kind of show the opposition that nothing's going to get by you and get into their heads as well when you're a goaltender of that regard, right? So you always want to try and push in that regard. And I found that again, like the puck tracking under pressure last night in the third period is kind of where things got lost for him. He lost that puck on the second goal. The tip, didn't readjust accordingly. So to me, like part of it is a learning curve for him. He is a rookie, of course. And so he's still kind of getting used to that. But it's the confidence in which he challenges opposing forwards that I love. Because that really, like when you come out of your crease, right, you're obviously covering more of the net. But you do leave yourself exposed for like a cross ice pass or a cut down the middle. But he's so big that they're going to have to do a full arc around him to try to get the puck behind him. So he really forces the player to have to think a split second to be like, okay, which way do I go? And already once that split second is done, because he takes up so much of the net and he's so athletic, that's it. It's over. They're 5 to 6 inches away from him, and that shot isn't getting by him. So I like the mental aspect of his game where he is really able to kind of impose himself on a game. Now it becomes more a question of being able to hold it down on a regular basis, despite the players in front of him kind of having a little bit of trouble being able to maintain their defensive structure under pressure.
And, as Denver Habs guy, a subscriber to the channel, it's a good question. It's a fair question. And honestly, I don't know the answer. I don't normally, sometimes Mark, I'll have a good feel on what I think should happen. I talk about opportunity. I talk about riding a hot goaltender, but like the last time you saw Sam Montembeault play was the Edmonton game. Like if he doesn't get Saturday against Ottawa, it'll be, if he plays on the Tuesday of the following week, we're talking about more or less 2 days removed from 2 weeks of live action. And, some people misheard me the other day. Never once do I think, practice can mimic playing an actual real competitive game at the NHL. Yeah. But there is a lot of value in practice. There is a lot of value in taking yourself out of the situation. It's why they have a goalie coach. It's why they have a team of people that can help fix problems with certain roster players. And part of me thinks that, the Canadiens have done some unbelievable heavy lifting, scooping up, 16 points out of 22 that have been up for grabs. I mean, they have right now the fourth best point percentage in hockey at .727, right there with Pittsburgh, right there with Colorado. New Jersey leads the way, 800 point percentage in their season, right? But I have no problem if Martin St. Louis wants to go with Montembeault on Saturday against the Ottawa Senators. An opportunity, I think sometimes athletes thrive in challenging situations, and this would be a challenge. Okay, here's a test. We believe in you. Go out there and pass this test. I have no problem if they decide to do that. I feel differently knowing that Jakub Dobeš has done some good work, and now it's time for Sam Montembeault to see, Marco, if he's fix some of the wrongs that allowed Dobeš to get so many consecutive games.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get the practice time, and I think that's the important part. He's going to be able to work with Eric Raymond, and they're going to be able to make, a call come Saturday morning whether or not he's fit to be able to play that game or if it's going to go to Tuesday. My only concern and the flip side to this element is the team success situation. Obviously, you go with the hot hand and Dobeš for sure, but also Saturday night's game is a divisional game against the Ottawa Senators. I know it's early to be talking about 4-point games in like early November. Yeah. My only worry about I'll finish my point. I've got to stay on course. When it comes to being able to get that team success going, if the Canadiens are able to beat Ottawa on Saturday, they are well set up within the Atlantic Division, because it really does feel like Ottawa is the only other team that's really keeping pace at the moment in terms of being able to play to the same level And so if they're able to make a statement game and beat the Senators at home after a long road trip, which is generally a trap game, like I'm not super confident in the Canadiens' ability to win that game, just coming back from a long road trip and whatnot. But the fact that they have 4 days off is probably a blessing in disguise, which may help them break that precedent, which is usually the case.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But if you don't beat the Senators, right, like it's tough. So do you put in the cold goalie that has to prove himself, that's probably not at the top of his confidence, or are you playing your hot horse right now that's basically undefeated and has vaulted himself into the Calder Trophy discussion? You know, like you have to make a call there. And to me, I think that Tuesday's game, although all games are more or less important, I think Tuesday's game is an easier setting than Saturday's. That being said, this is the NHL. If you can't stand up on a Saturday night in Montreal, then you have no soul. So there's an easy discussion on both ends of the dial. I'm not the one making the decisions. My call, Montembeault plays Saturday. My call. Because you can't ride Dobson until he breaks down. Because then what happens when he breaks down?
Exactly. And what if Montembeault doesn't level up? Then what?
Yeah. Then what? What are you going to call Fowler and hope he goes on a run too? Like it's not going to happen.
Exactly. Speaking of Fowler, nice to see David Reinbacker back on the ice, full equipment. Obviously, we were talking about this last week. Hey, we're at the kind of 4-week timeline. So it's very important, just to see what David Reinbacker, I mean, it'd just be great to see this guy play, if he doesn't get hurt again, more or less a full AHL season for Pascal Vincent on the Laval Rocket here. I mean, you spoke about this. If you're not familiar, Marco D'Amico joins Connor McKenna and yours truly every Wednesday at 8:05 for a serving of Habs breakfast. I mean, there's no word on the street with trade speculation starting to pick up, and Marco and I are going to have something on that tomorrow morning on the channel, right? It'll be up for members first. And one of the perks about being a member of the Starr and D'Amico show, you get access to our content before everybody else does. But we'll get into, some trade talk, and we'll get into like filling holes around the Montreal Canadiens, right? But David Reinbacker still is in the good graces, I would say. Not an untouchable, don't mishear me. I'm not saying untouchable, but there's still a lot of room on that leash for David Reinbacker to run around and prove himself within the organization here. Let's be fair.
Absolutely. And I mean, I get the impulse, and I get the some fans are down because of the injury history and whatnot.
Yeah.
All I got to say is, man, like, look how difficult it is to get a top 4 right shot defenseman in this league, and look how much they're getting paid. It's bonkers, right? And so if you have one here, and your idea, like, unless you're getting a bona fide young number 2 center in a package that includes David Reinbacker, you're basically selling low at this point. So it's in any organization's benefit to try and build him up, even if it's for trade value, which I doubt is the main consideration in this case. David Reinbacker, if he hits, is exactly what Lane Hudson needs on his right side. And the Canadiens are very conscious of that. It's one of the reasons why they drafted him, is that chemistry was almost immediate when they were playing together, even at rookie camp. So to me, I think they're extremely vested in trying to get him going. And, if they've given Kirby Dach opportunity after multiple knee surgeries, I don't think they're going to throw in the towel with David Reinbacker. And the expectation in Laval is David Reinbacker is going to play mucho minutes when he gets back into the lineup, which the expectation is probably this weekend. So unless there's a surprise and he plays tonight.
Because they're getting busy now. Their schedule ramps up a little bit.
Well, they have 3 games this week, and then they're relatively chilling next week. In fact, I'll be in Laval on Tuesday for a couple of interviews for BPM Spa. But things calm down again next week. It's the beauty of the AHL schedule, really. It's you get like those you get it hot and heavy in the later part of the week, and the later part of the weekend, and then the odd game during the week. The Canadiens are at home. The Rocket are at home as well, so it'll help. He's gotten practice in. He's been on the ice. He looks good. Pascal Vincent thinks he's right on schedule, which would lead me to believe that he should be playing within the week of this live. So I'm not necessarily worried about it. And the Canadiens obviously understand fan anxiety around him, so they're obviously not going to give more information that's needed, because anything and everything around David Reinbacker is going to be just taken to the sky in terms of impulsivity and emotion. Really, the only thing that's going to calm things down is when fans see him on the ice on a regular basis, and I think the Canadiens feel the same way.
We're at the 30-minute marker of today's live presentation of the Starr and D'Amico Show. Thank you so much for everybody that's been here. Please like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We've got daily content. We're going to have a live show coming up on November 17th at Maison Publique McLean's. So many of you all came out to support us on our first live broadcast. Hope to see more familiar faces and new faces on November 17th. We'll have more details on that. It'll basically be a 6:30 to 7:30 live presentation. It's right up on Peel Street, right in the heart of downtown Montreal, very accessible via Metro. So you can come check us out, support the show. We'll have lots of prizes and swag to give away to people in attendance in order to get your hands on some of this fantastic stuff, including great gift cards from our friends at Morella's Steakhouse in Ganawage, Highway 132. We've got a lot of gift cards away, and I really want you guys to check out that restaurant. It's so great. It's so well worth it, and it's so well priced and no tax on the bill. So stay tuned for more details on that. But I want to get the chat going a little bit here, Marco. I want to talk about unsung hero, right? Nick Suzuki clearly is having a season, with his 16 points in 11 games, tied for fourth in the NHL. Cole Caufield is on 9 goals. That's tied for the NHL lead. Lane Hutson is on 10 points. Demidov's on 9. Newhook is starting to heat up. He's playing really consistent hockey, but what do you guys think in the chat? The unsung hero so far for the Montreal Canadiens, Jakub Dobeš, 6-0. I mean, it's a testament, Marco, is it not? Like, when I phrase that question and I give a lot of possibilities, a lot of outs to who you guys think is the unsung hero, Marco, it's a testament to how this team is being built and who's contributing here.
Do you guys want my take on this question before we take yours?
Let's go.
I think the Canadiens' incognito number one defenseman and unsung hero is Noah Dobson.
Man, he was solid last night, man.
I think the impact that Noah Dobson has, not only individually, but also collectively on the Canadiens' transition and defensive side of the puck, is so marketably noticeable that the Canadiens went from, analytically speaking, went from being a bottom 10 defensive core to being a top 10 defensive core overnight. And part of that is the improvement from Lane Hutson, who, mind you, at the moment of this recording, is second in defenseman scoring in the NHL right now.
Yeah, Cale Makar had a 4-point night, by the way.
Cale Makar is a generational cheat code. Nothing's catching that guy. Nothing's catching that guy.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the way that Noah Dobson plays, pay attention to his stick. The way that he's able to kill plays with an active stick. The way that he's able to position himself to stop the cross ice passes, really box out the passing lane. The way that he's able to think out the transition, other than that one turnover against the Edmonton Oilers, the Calgary Flames, he's been absolutely sublime in that category. In fact, he has the highest success rate when it comes to transitioning the puck outside of the zone for Canadiens defensemen. So to me, this is the guy that really has kind of helped them defensively. What we've seen since the start of this road trip, however, is the offensive side of the puck. This Juraj Slafkovsky goal, where he pulled the same move as Nick Suzuki, came down the left side, spread the goalie out, and passed the puck behind him into the blue paint for a Slafkovsky tap-in. The play that he made to Cole Caufield against the Vancouver Canucks, where he saw streaking Caufield on the left side, flipped him the puck, and Caufield did not miss. Offensively speaking, he also provides one of the few shooting threats on the back end for the Canadiens, which forces defensemen to play higher when he's on the ice. They're higher in the defensive zone. That opens up the ice for the offense. And that's one of the reasons why I believe the Canadiens have been so strong with the first line offensively, is because their presence at the blue line forces the forwards to play higher, opening up the middle of the ice. And Cole Caufield and Nick Suzuki do not need that much more space to be active and make plays, and boy, have they. So the combination has been so strong with him and Matheson. Matheson is getting all the flowers right now because it's flashy. It's a contract year, yes. But I haven't heard a single soul question that contract in a long, long while for Noah Dobson. And I don't think we ever will.
Well, let's get to some of these comments here. Thank you so much for being active in the chat. You guys are solid as always. As the Water Fowler suggests, and I liked his game yesterday over 14 minutes. Marco talks about Noah Dobson up front. We'll talk about Kirby Dach's game. As he almost, I think that goal he scored in the first game against Seattle almost had a carbon copy, but Joey Decourt was on top of his angle and his pad work was tight, glued to the post there. But much more. We're talking about Kirby Dach here since he got back. More consistent, a little bit more engaged, a little bit more confident is how I would describe Kirby Dach's game, where he's able to use his body, use that size that everybody loves and sees so much promise in, where he can kind of mix it up. He got a little, he got gangbanged there in the corner by like a bunch of Seattle Kraken later in the game, but the toughness, the confidence there about Kirby Dach. You seeing positive growth from Dach's game?
Yeah, definitely over the last 2 games. I really liked his game against the Vancouver Canucks. I liked his game last night again. I'm of the ilk that if this continues and he's able to string along 5 or 6 games of this, that Ivan Demidov should be put on his line. That's how much I've liked what I've seen. But again, it's too small of a sample size for me to be like, complete roster reconstruction here. But what I like is his game in transition. He's able to carry the puck into the offensive zone with purpose. He's not just getting in there and losing the puck. He's getting in there and he's already got an idea in his mind of how he's going to distribute this puck, what he's going to do with it. He's taking the puck with speed to the net. His puck protection is on point. And what I really enjoy from him is his combativeness along the corners.
Yeah.
Prior to his injury, it was abysmal in terms of his success rate in the corners and being able to come out with puck possession and make plays happen. Now, the last 2 games, you're seeing more conviction from him, more speed, more, I would say, openness for physical contact. And you're really starting to see him jive in that regard. And I think what's the best part of it is that teams take notice. And what do they do with a big guy that skates that well? They back up, they back up, they back up. What does that do? It just opens up the ice a little bit more for Kirby Dach to go to work. That element was what was missing from his game basically since the tail end of the 2022-2023 season. And obviously the 2023-2024 season is a wash, obviously, but we saw it in the first game against Toronto in that season as well. When he is able to dictate the pace of flow with his transition, he is a dangerous player. And then all you got to do is put a couple of talented wingers on his wing, and it could be a serious contender for an offensive line that could sustain that kind of output.
Some people, following your lead here, I'll put them up fast, on Unsung Hero in the first month of the season. There's a Dobson. What's up, Lucy? Good to see you back here. Dobson, Rogallo.
Lucy really likes Dobson.
Dobson is screaming it. That's fine. Speak with your chest. We're here for that. Rogallo going with Dobson. But I like this one from John Smith to mix it up a little bit. Unsung is a peculiar word, right? I get it.
Yeah.
You're not going to talk about Nick Suzuki. Clearly, je comprends. But Mike Matheson, and the reason I like the Mike Matheson, you touched on how many minutes he plays. And he's an all situations guy. And I think what I really appreciate about Mike Matheson's game is even when he told reporters, and Arpon Basu wrote about him in his latest piece, one of his latest pieces, I should say, at The Athletic, that the discussions, they're not being held right now between the Matheson camp and the Canadiens. They're not talking extension right now. He doesn't want to talk about it. I get the distraction angle, but what came across to me as a strong point from Matheson is he's not a diva. He's been asked to do everything, and one of the points that was made was, okay, you're on the first wave of the power play. Okay, now you're off the first wave of the power play. Want you to be first pair defenseman. Want you to be shutdown defenseman. Like check, buys in, leads. And Mike Matheson to me is right up there. He's not an untouchable player, but man, he's had a great month, and him and Noah Dobson have been so good together, Marco.
I had a former NHL player message me, I believe it was after Saturday's game, basically indicating that the Canadiens have finally found an elite top pair.
Yeah.
And he's like, And I was like, it is interesting to watch. And he's like, and that doesn't even include Lane Hudson. Like, it's incredible to watch because you would assume that Lane Hudson would be the automatic number one defenseman on this team. And then you were looking at the way that they're developing their defensive brigade. And Mike Matheson is the one that comes out on top in terms of utilization, in terms of being able to play crunch minutes and hard minutes. It really does speak to how he impacts the game, because it's apparent offensively and in transition, but it's the details defensively as well, right? Like the physicality along the boards, boxing guys out. He was leveling a couple of guys over this road trip as well. And these are physical clients that they were facing here in Calgary and Edmonton and Vancouver and of course Seattle. So he really didn't shy down from any of that. And honestly, his 5-on-5 metrics are stupendous when it comes to the way that they're being able to defend and turn it around the other way and go back. So that it be Dobson, that it be Matheson. That's why if I had an answer, I would have been like the Canadiens' top pair is the unsung hero of the success to the start of the season. But I'm in full agreement. I think having Dobson on his pair has allowed him to simplify his game. He doesn't have to get complicated with his zone exits. If there's pressure coming one way, he could pass it to Dobson. Dobson has enough skill where he can take care of the transition on his own end. It's options, it's talent. And at that point, the confidence builds, and a confident Mike Matheson is a very valuable Mike Matheson.
100%. And, we're getting lots of comments, and a lot of people see it the way, Kirby Dach getting some love, Noah Dobson getting some love. And there's one name here that popped up. I'm going to try to find it because here it is. Thanks to Chuckaluck. What's up, Chuckaluck? And let's clear the air before you jump down Marco's throat or mine. Okay. Once and for all, it is Kapanen. Once and for all, let's lock it in. Who wants to be a millionaire style? Final answer. It's locked in. Again, Arpon Basu, like Marco, is in the room. He went to, this is a true story. He said it on TSN 690 on Monday morning with Connor McKenna.
I was there.
Goes, can you say your last name for us? Not Kapanen, Kapanen. So we're going Kapanen moving forward here. But I don't know if I agree with this answer. And part of me thinks like, and again, I'm going to remind y'all, we're going to talk a little bit about Nazem Kadri on Thursday's show. We're going to talk about other possibilities as the Canadiens need to find that vaunted secondary scoring. And there's a name I could see being in the trade wins, Marco. I don't, Kapanen had a nice start to the season, but I like Kirby Dach a little bit more. I'm not to suggest that Kapanen doesn't have a future, but I think he's a valuable asset that other teams can look at and be attracted to. I'll say that.
Oof. This is gonna blow stuff right out of the water. If you're gonna get a number 2 center and Michael Hage isn't on the table, then Oliver Kapanen absolutely has to be on the table.
Right.
That's the best thing.
It's that simple, right?
Right. Yeah. Now, would I actively throw Kapanen away, or do I think he's a bad player? In no way, shape, or form.
No, that's not what we're saying.
Yeah. I think Kapanen is a very serviceable third-line center. I think that his offensive numbers are aided significantly by playing with Demidov at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's the same for Demidov. In reverse, I don't think that he's necessarily benefited greatly from the 5-on-5 combination in his current line. And in fact, they were the worst 5-on-5 line last night, both teams combined. They were caved in on most of their shifts last night, and to me, really hampered Ivan Demidov's offensive creativity at 5-on-5. Demidov can't be a power play merchant; he has to be able to produce at 5-on-5 as well. And I feel like Kapanen is unfortunately the weak link. I know what the stats look like, but Hockey DB does not tell the story. I don't think that he would have as many goals, points as he could or as he should if he weren't playing with Demidov. I think he's a very serviceable third-line center, but I think he's far from being the Canadiens' MVP in this regard. I would easily give it to both of his line mates before him and Ivan Demidov, and especially Alex Newhook in the way that he's played so far to start the season.
Well, I put up Matthew's take here. Matthew, big subscriber to the show. Nice to see you back on the channel today.
I too would want to trade. I too would want to trade the least valuable player of the two.
who's the more valuable NHL player today playing on an NHL team and, occasionally contributing? I mean, in terms of 1v1, in terms of value, level of attractiveness, if you're trying to land, a legitimate 2C with tenure time left on the contract, term left on the contract, and you're looking for an NHL body, I mean, it's not even a competition at that point, right? So
I think
that's
Florian,
how I see it.
Florian Xhaka is also someone you need to consider in terms of eventually replacing Jake Evans. So you have all these middle six guys.
Yeah.
You have all these bottom six guys, and Kapanen is there, and you could use him to get a second line center. I don't think, Canadiens fans, I'm just going to let you in on this. Kapanen's name came up in trade talks this summer. So it's not like the Canadiens aren't open to it either.
Right.
And the fact that he started so well actually assists them in that. But the funny thing about players in trade conversations, it doesn't mean they're automatically going to get traded. It just means that their name came up. Now, if Kapanen continues to improve his play and shows that he can be more than a third line center, well, then the Canadiens are in business, and I don't think anybody's talking trade.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying he's exempt from those conversations.
Fair. And it's funny, too, because I think, if we ask this question, unsung hero for the Montreal Canadiens, right? Dollars to donuts, we would have gotten a lot of love for Zachary Bolduc. And Zachary Bolduc has been, a beast on the road. I believe his 4 goals have all been road goals, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of, you brought his name up on the power play and where he was on the power play as the Canadiens' man advantage is now 7th in the National Hockey League as they scored 2 goals, one for the first wave, one on the second wave. But is Zach Bolduc, in your eyes, doing a lot of small things correctly? I mean, obviously he scores 3 goals in 3 straight games, has 4 points in 3 games to start the season. There was going to be a cooling off period production wise, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, you get the rub on the Canadiens' first wave of the power play where it worked out well against Chicago. And again, I like the way he plays. He plays hard. He plays in the corner. He's got a good shot. He can cause chaos in the neutral zone. I didn't think he had his best game last night either. But I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. We keep talking about this, but I don't think Joe Veleno has any business on that line. I've not been overly impressed. This is the reason why I believe that Ivan Demidov and Joe Veleno should switch so that you'd have an actual offensive second line, and the Kapanen line can become more of a defensive inclined line. And then you have your identity fourth line that can go to work and do whatever it wants. But I think ultimately, if the idea is to get Ivan Demidov more minutes, it needs to happen at 5-on-5, ladies and gentlemen. Again, less than 10 minutes of.
Why hasn't it happened though? Let me be a fanboy. Why hasn't it happened?
Because they keep getting caved defensively. Look, how many shifts last night were they stuck in their own zone?
Yeah.
Right? It's apparent to me, and it stems to me down the middle. How much time did Kirby Dach's line spend in the O zone versus the D zone? A considerable amount of time, right? But plays went to die on Joe Veleno's stick, unfortunately, and then bad penalties were taken, and so on and so forth. So, to me, if the plan is to give Ivan Demidov more minutes, it has to happen at 5-on-5. If Oliver Kapanen does not have the trust of the coach, or if that line in general does not have the trust of the coach at 5-on-5, then a switch needs to happen to give Demidov more ice time at 5-on-5, because he's going to get it on the power play. He's on the first wave. That's not changing.
Well, that's it. Soon. And that's the difference. That's Demidov gets 14 shifts and Kapanen gets 12. He plays shorthanded. Yeah. Demidov doesn't. Demidov plays power play. Kapanen doesn't. So
how do you get him more even strength ice time? Kirby Dach had 13 minutes of even strength ice time. So clearly Martin St. Louis trusts Dach more than Kapanen. And if that's the case, with all due respect to the success that line has had, in general, I think they've had more success away from each other on special teams than they've had together at 5-on-5. But ultimately, the way that I see it is Bolduc Dach Demidov is a second line made in heaven. My 2 cents. Just a playmaking driving center that can carry the puck up the ice, an elite offensive line driver that is Ivan Demidov, and a finisher that played with elite players in St. Louis in the tail end of last year and went on a run, that knows how to get open and knows how to be available and has what I consider to be one of the most elite bumper shots in the NHL. I think those all make sense together. And I feel like they would complete each other better than what Kapanen does right now. And Alex Newhook, to me, is an excellent two-way player.
No doubt.
I feel like, again, like he and Demidov just don't have the timing yet. And after 11 games together, I think it's safe to say that perhaps they're not the two best wingers suited to play with each other.
So it takes me back then to the 2C discussion. And, we're going to really dive deep on it on tomorrow's episode that'll drop at 10.
Mm-hmm.
Members will get it first about, if we can agree, and I don't really think it's debatable, about 93's game, defensively speaking, everybody buys in, right? It just reinforces the point on two fronts. Yes, they need a reliable, consistent performer 2C, but that 2C also cannot be, Marco, one-dimensional. Whoever that 2C may be also has to be like kind of recoverable in terms of picking up maybe if Demidov slips, loses his man in coverage, situationally speaking. So it's not a one-size-fits-all if Ken Hughes is out there exploring that person.
Because I don't want to spoil much of the content that will come tomorrow. Let's put it this way. The Canadiens will not be looking for a Casey Middlestat.
Right.
Like if they're looking for a center, they're going to be looking for a center that can bring what this top six is missing. A little bit of physicality, strong two-way ability, a center that can win more faceoffs than he loses. A center that is more of a goal scorer, because the Canadiens, outside of Nick Suzuki, don't have many goals at 5-on-5 coming from their centers. Yes, Kapanen, again, as we pointed out, special teams and playing with Demidov, Kapanen has been able to provide offense, but that offense, statistically speaking, is not something that is translatable on a consistent basis without playing with an elite winger like Demidov at 5-on-5. It's circumstantial, right? And so it happens where the player gets hot to start the season. That's what adrenaline is. These younger players have it up the nose right now. And unfortunately, when things come back down to earth, then you see what you really have. Demidov is an elite talent. And to me, you need to play him further up the lineup if you really want to get things going. And you really want to have two lines that you can match up, especially now that you have this home stretch coming. The Canadiens play, 7 of their next 9 games at home? You have that ability to be able to just take two lines and continue to pound them offensively. I think it would make sense. Although knowing Martin St. Louis, I don't know that would be an imminent change that would happen.
You're right to point out 6 of their next 7, right? They'll play Ottawa, Philadelphia. Then they go to New Jersey. That'll be a great game. Utah, that just signed Logan Cooley to an 8-year, $10 million contract. That's some nice bit of business by the Utah Mammoth, who are having on October themselves.
I liked the fact that Utah, this deal was on Logan Cooley's desk for a while. Yes, he refused 8 times 9.6, but Utah re-upped for 8 times 10. Cooley could have milked them for at least another mil.
Easy, for sure.
At least, if not more. Remember, Utah, no tax state, right? So he could have gone for more if he wanted to, and just accepted the deal that was in front of him, because Utah has something special brewing, right? They're one of the top teams in the league. Daniel Boot is not on that team. TJ Ginla is not yet on that team. Caleb Desnoyers is not yet on that team. These are 3 top 12 players, 2 of which picked right into the top 10 and have very, very, very high regard in the NHL. Utah is going to, in my honest opinion, is going to be better off than any expansion team ever was, except for the Vegas Golden Knights. And yes, it was a relocation, but what a foundation for Ryan Smith to start with in Utah, and the way that it's being built out. And Logan Cooley absolutely wanted to be a part of that. And at the end of the day, you're seeing players take a little less to stay with their teams. Maybe not a defenseman like Thomas Harley with his $10.6 million deal, but Logan Cooley is a winner. Always has been, always will be at every stage of his career. And he wasn't about to milk the team dry. He took the offer that was in front of him, and he sees what's around him, and he bought in. And you're seeing the top teams in the NHL right now are teams where players have bought in.
Again, back to the schedule. Ottawa, Philadelphia at the Bell Center, New Jersey there, and then back home as the Canadiens finally get back to what I love, a traditional Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule. Following New Jersey, it's Utah, LA, and Dallas. Time for Sam Montembeault to step up. The Montreal Canadiens are going to need, they're playing some quality hockey clubs, a lot of measuring stick games coming up. It's time for Sam Montembeault on the clock, time to step up, time to help out Jakub Dobeš, Dobeš helping out Sam Montembeault. Here we go into the a good batch of really good teams, and I can't wait for the Ottawa game. New Jersey's going to be a good one too, and Utah is hot as the power of the Schmaltz. Logan Cooley's on 8 goals, man.
The power of the Schmaltz.
Yeah, that to me when I look at the schedule, even Philadelphia's on the come up a little bit here. Nice little brawl in the Battle of Pennsylvania. Let's get that rivalry going in overtime yesterday. As Crosby,
another point for Pittsburgh.
Another goal for Crosby, scores the 2-2 equalizer there. Another goal for Crosby.
I'm sorry, Canadiens fans. I'm just it's funny at this point. You guys roast me, I roast you. It's just
you should thank me. I have not put up the let's get Marco to talk about Sidney Crosby comments on the chat board, but right. I mean, is it Nicholas?
Is it your usual Nicholas? Yeah.
Correct.
Let's
Correct.
not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I 100% agree, and this is why I've made the Schmaltz. That's so good. Well done.
As Schmaltz is coming back too, they're doing another one.
So Schmaltz, one of the things that's going to be really interesting with him in a contract year, Logan Cooley is signed now, not by chance. Now that Utah has Cooley signed, he's their top paid player. Schmaltz can't ask for more, even if he outpaces Cooley in scoring.
Yeah.
That was done on pretense. Now they're building a hierarchy. You cannot come over Logan Cooley. He is the franchise player. You must come under. And that's not by chance. So we'll see what happens with Schmaltz. Very interesting player. I don't think he's a pure center for the Canadiens fans that are considering him as an option. And I don't think the Canadiens would, because if they do make a trade, it wouldn't be for a pure rental. But this is a guy that teams are going to have to follow. Utah may take him as an own rental into the playoffs if they continue this pace, but got to be careful with a guy like him.
As we take a look at, where the Canadiens are at, and yes, Cole Caufield scores his 11th overtime winner from little bro to mid bro to big bro, and the Montreal Canadiens top line is cooking. And, Cole Caufield is on pace, and again, it's 11 games, but he's on pace, I think, for like a 67 goal campaign. Like, I'm not crazy when I say, like, things go right, planets align. I mean, 50's on the table this year, man. Like, he's a part of a dominant number one line.
Health permitting, yes. He's on pace. I would, between 40 to 50 goals is where I saw it at the start of the season, right? I thought 40, 45 is what I was expecting. Yeah. He's obviously playing with way more jam than last year, so that changes the evaluation. But I'll put you one better.
Go ahead.
I had a member of USA Hockey that I've talked to a lot because of the U.S. National Development Program.
Was it Bill Guerin?
No. And we were having a conversation yesterday, just, he's on the West Coast, so he was up watching the game at the same time as us. And I asked, Cole Caufield, does he actually have a legitimate shot at this roster? And he basically said Guerin and company would have to be blind to not have this guy on the roster.
Right.
Cole Caufield plays such a complete overall game that you could easily make the argument to have him on this team over guys of significant stature. Like, if we have a Logan Thompson versus Cole Caufield conversation, knowing that Logan Thompson does not play center anymore, even for the Buffalo Sabres who are without Josh Norris, evaluating winger for winger, who plays better two-way right now between the two? That's a legitimate conversation, because I would have said Thompson as early as last season. But now you're actually having a legitimate debate between these two guys, right? The same can be said about Chris Kreider. Yes, you want to play that physical nature, but you lost to Canada because you were missing a goal scorer like Kyle Connor. Are you going to make the same mistake?
Yes.
Knowing now that you see the way that Cole Caufield can play, and this is where the conversation went, is that Cole Caufield is showing that on an elite stage, he could still be useful in a bottom six situation because he will not hurt you defensively.
And I know you're talking about
is the biggest change.
And I know you're talking about Tage Thompson. You mentioned Logan. I know you're talking about Tate.
I always mistake the two.
Yes.
Although Logan Thompson should be on Team
yeah.
Canada.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. But just to add to that, like, it's funny, we talk about, and I get culture in hockey is very much a thing, and I'm for that in hockey to build up your team dynamic. But you touched on something to me that tips the scales. Okay, fine. Like, you're not going to put Cole Caufield in a shutdown role, but like, look at the goals he's scored and the variety and the style in which he scored those goals. Like, he picks weak points on goaltenders, exposes it, stops on a dime. Joey Daccord thinks he's going for the wraparound. Nope, he's going back the other way, tucks it in a tight corner. To me, that's, if you're talking X factor, Cole Caufield has X factor all over him. In the 2-2 hockey game, I'm very comfortable throwing him over the boards because I need a timely goal, and I believe that he can be the guy that could do that for me.
I would absolutely be floored if Cole Caufield did not make Team USA with the way he's playing right now.
And what about Nick Suzuki? Like, same thing,
no? I've already told you what I was told at the top of the hour about Nick Suzuki, right? Even as a 14th forward, he should be on Team Canada. You cannot have a Sam Bennett on this team over Nick Suzuki and expect me to take you seriously.
Yeah.
Right now, you can't even have a Sam Reinhart on this team and expect me to take you seriously with the way he started this season. They're showing that without Tkachuk and Barkov, they're not the offensive juggernaut that they are, right? And as good a job as I think Anton Lundell has done in stepping in, they're just not that. And I think it goes to show you great players make those around them better. And I don't think that in a nutshell, Sam Reinhart is what that team needs necessarily. He's been great for the Florida Panthers in the playoffs. He's been fantastic in those settings. Absolutely no problem. Yes. But if we're talking about who the best players are to fit those roles today, I don't know that I would take either of those two Florida Panthers forwards over a Nick Suzuki, over a Mark Scheifele, because those are guys that can impact the game in all situations. Not simply just a 5-on-5 or on the power play. You can put them on the penalty kill and they will be elite. Like, I don't even want to know what a penalty kill would look like with Nick Suzuki next to Mitch Marner. Like, I would fathom that they would probably score more goals in the power play that they'd be shutting down. Like, that's how dangerous they could be. So on a team like that, where you want to load up with centers, you have Macklin Celebrini playing out of his mind right now. Connor Bedard with a hat trick yesterday. Like, you can't have periphery guys. Like, you look at a Cirelli, for example. Cirelli is playing well, 9 points, I believe, in his last 11 games or 10 games. So he's probably going to be there as their like shutdown guy. But then after that, like, I'm not necessarily sure that Hagel is having the start to the season that he's having, that I would put him on this team over a guy like Nick Suzuki. That's all I got to say.
And I get, the argument from people, and I've heard it already from some of my buddies, to be like, do you even want these guys going to represent their countries? Wouldn't you rather have them, But the world doesn't work like that. It's an honor to, get called by USA Hockey, Czechia or Canada, or take your pick.
These guys grow up wanting to play best on best.
Dude, it's the best on best tournament that the sport has right now. End of sentence. Yeah. Full stop, right? So, like,
do you care about your athletes? Do you care about their pride? Do you care about them measuring themselves up against the best of the best?
Exactly.
Like, to me, there's also a developmental aspect to this. Like, you are around the elite, right? How huge would it be for Nick Suzuki to be around Crosby for a 3-week tournament? How, and I know everybody's going to be like,
what did you
the next 2 years, and then the next 2 years.
What did you just say?
But like being around the McKinnons, the Crosbys, one guy that I think could potentially sneak his way on his roster if he continues to play the way he is Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson was at the selection camp.
Yeah.
They're not super deep on right defense. This is a guy that could be in that conversation for that third D spot, or the eighth defenseman conversation, because right shot defensemen are few and far between for Canada. Yeah. Yes, you have Cale Makar. Yes, you have Drew Doughty. But Alex Pietrangelo is now injured, not out for the season. So that last spot is left open. Thomas Harley is part of that conversation, although he's a lefty.
He just got paid. Yep.
And he just got paid. And a lot of that reason is because of how much Hockey Canada really appreciates him. So, and obviously how well he plays for Dallas, but
Yeah.
Man, Jesus is Lord. I feel you in terms
That's
of being
great.
able to watch. Yeah,
That's
I
great.
look forward to being able to do that myself. Not this year, maybe in 4 years from now.
Exactly. It'll be 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. But all I got to say is when you have this kind of tournament in front of you and you're Nick Suzuki, you're Cole Caufield, you're Juraj Slafkovsky, et cetera, et cetera.
Dobic's going to play for Czechia, no?
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. The way he's playing, I don't see why he couldn't be there as a backup for sure, if not a number one.
I know.
But we'll have to have those conversations further down the line. All I got to say is these are proud athletes, and I'm down to see what happens in the Olympics when it's a best on best. And I'd love to see the top Canadians players there because hopefully, if they continue this route, then they could afford to go to the Olympics, come back, and not be super, super well rested. There's going to be a period of time where they can rest. They're not going to finish the tournament and come back and then play the day after. There's going to be a period of rest to allow the players to come back and then start. But all this to say, Nick Suzuki wins a gold medal, say, for Team Canada. Don't you think he's going to be absolutely amped, having tasted gold, to want to go into the playoffs with momentum and try to push the Canadians farther than people thought they were going to go?
Correct. And to be around Stanley Cup winners like a Nathan McKinnon and a Sidney Crosby and the John Cooper, about what it's like, to be he's been to a Stanley Cup final. I get that, but this is a different level, right? Like even his game's at another level where, he's ready to taste the champagne,
And I'll say this for our listeners, because I know this for a fact. If there's one player in this selection process that has John Cooper's curiosity, it's Nick Suzuki.
John Cooper loves Nick Suzuki. He hasn't shied away from speaking glowingly.
Since the 2021 Olympics. And I asked people around about that at the Four Nations, and he said that John Cooper is in love with Nick Suzuki. They just weren't sure he was there yet. He's there now.
Yeah. There's another player that plays for an opposing NHL club that has been on the record expressing his love, admiration for Nick Suzuki's game. I think I'm going to bring his name up in tomorrow's chat as we talk about filling the 2C hole for the Montreal Canadiens. So there's your tease. As yes, we will talk about Nazem Kadri, and that's not the player I'm talking about. But we're going to talk about Kadri. We're going to talk about other options. We'll talk about a potential timeline. So you can look forward to that content on this channel. Out for members today. It will be out for the general public viewing on Thursday. It's already Wednesday. It's a Thursday morning, and a good time for a break. Enjoy the break because this is the one time prior to the Olympic stuff that the Montreal Canadiens have this much time off between games. So great month of October. Love the progress. Love the fact that they did things they set out to do as a goal. And November brings on stiffer competition. Looking forward to seeing how this team handles that, and looking forward to recapping all of those games with all of y'all as we do right here on the Starr and D'Amico show. Marco D'Amico, you can read him at RG Media. You can follow him at MN D'Amico. Marco, we have some new social accounts. You want to talk about that for a second here?
We have some new social accounts right now on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You can find us at Starr and D'Amico. So we'll have a dedicated channel. All of you guys that are watching this or subscribed to our channel, go and subscribe directly to those channels on social media. We'll be able to feed you not only entertaining content like you see right now, but more digestible videos, shorter videos, a little bit of easy analysis, and obviously some graphics and some cleaner points about things that happened throughout the season. So definitely check that out, as we are going to be giving you way more content than you guys are used to over the next couple of months.
So that's at Starr and D'Amico across all your favorite social media platforms. And that'll be a populated account. Looking forward to engaging with you across those platforms. So that'll do it for another live show right here on the Starr D'Amico channel. Please like and subscribe as the road to 20,000 subscribers begins with this legion of Habs armies. Thank you so much. And yes, as Peter Nazar points out here, Marco's going to be flossing like it's nobody's business on the old tiki-taki. Marco could do the floss. We'll get him to do it.
I may just do a tarantella instead.
Oh, come on, Sadiq.
Tarantella. That's what I said.
All right, brother. Thanks as always. Thanks for everybody for commenting and checking us out live today. Enjoy your Thursday. Enjoy your Thursday tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of Wednesday. Have fun with the kiddies for Halloween. And we'll be back Sunday morning for that'll be our next live show to recap the Canadiens and Senators. In the meantime, we've got some more content coming up on the channel, so stay tuned for that. All right. Thanks, everybody. Marco, enjoy the day. I'll speak to you later.
Have a good one, everybody.